Waking up at 12:14. Talk so much all night that I forget how to be. Making sure that you're okay. Hope it's not too hard when I reply with a light. Lately it's been hard to dream. The story's all messed up and I don't wanna repeat. Excuses we make day after day. Play something that we're not an exact day. Witnesses might be alright. So maybe we can say goodbye just tonight. I really don't want to fight. I'm trying my best to be polite.
Hey, everybody. I am here. Welcome, Facebook fam, YouTube fam, and first timers as well. We might have a couple first timers who are just now jumping on the stream. I'm going to pop in the stream a little bit later in terms of throwing my image up. But today is going to be a slightly non-traditional, or maybe even non-traditional stream where I'm going to play something that I recorded today a little bit earlier. Normally, I jump into the objections segment with my objections partner on the block with Jen. She is not feeling well, and she hasn't been feeling well for the last couple days. So Please join me in sending your hopes and prayers that she gets better soon. We want you to get better soon, Jen, so we can have you in here delivering these L's like you've been doing to me for the last couple of days, the last couple of debates. But what I'm going to do is I will go ahead and actually show you a react video to the debate. And I'm kind of cheesing about it um, because I'm actually doing a reaction video to something that I was a part of. And when we get into it, I'll explain the reasons why and everything. But what I want to do is jump into that. This is going to be the first debate that Jen and I did on this channel. And the reason why I chose it is because, as you guys know, it's definitely important. And for me, it gives me an opportunity to actually respond in a way that's not necessarily restricted by the formalities of debate. So I hope you guys enjoy. We're going to fly through it. And then at the very end, if anybody wants to jump in, then yeah, JP. Yes, JP. You know what, real quick, let me go through here before I dive in. Let me just, give some props to everybody who's here. JT, Coin Rings, appreciate you. Blind Guy, his wife, their life. Always good to have you. You're always supporting. Same thing with you, JP. Always good to have you here. Just going down the line. Appreciate you guys. True Silver Queen, same thing. So glad you're here to come through. And as we get a few more people coming in here, then that's cool too. All right, so I'm gonna jump right in, and feel free to just kind of follow along. And at the very end, if anyone has anything that they want to jump in, I'm here for it live. If not, then we all good. All right, let me start it up right now. The YouTube fam, Facebook fam, Frank Gooden here. So glad you could be here with me for another video. A couple days ago, I started a new segment called Objections with On the Block with Jen, and the first subject that we debated was about COVID, and it was a great debate. We had a great time. Jen is, as expected, as I knew she would be, very sharp. She made some really great points about it. Sometimes in a debate, and this is something that I'm learning, and I'm actually glad that we created the format here, because I think that a debate format is a really good way to explore topics and be able to bring things to the table. So in the debate, I brought up some points that, just because of the way, debates are, I think in general, and we don't want to, I know me being the host, I didn't want to bore you guys with details. I didn't drill down as much as I should have. And with something as important as COVID, I didn't want to just leave it at that. You debate one side, debate the other side, somebody quote unquote wins or loses, and you kind of move on. With something like this, the whole point, really of most of them, but especially something like this, is to really put out the information. And for me, I really want to convince you of what I consider to be the truth of the matter. I'm just not talking about it per se. I really want to present what I see as truth right now, and then share it. And in this case, have you act on it, because this is something that, from my perspective, is it's a community health issue, a national health issue. And I think I would be doing us a disservice to just talk about it very casually, and we had fun, we debated back and forth, and we brought up some points, and you're free to kind of take it for that, and make up your mind based on, from my side, would be incomplete information. So I decided to go ahead and do a react video to the debate. So I'm actually kind of excited about the possibility of doing a react video to something that I created. So I want to go ahead and jump in and do that. So I want to dive into these points a little bit deeper. Okay. All right. So let's get started. 71 million doses have been given. 175 million people in this country have been fully vaccinated. That's over half the population. And then you see some numbers about the breakdown of some of the top states. All right. So if half the population have been vaccinated, one of the things that people say as an objection to whether or not we should even take the vaccine is whether or not it's safe. Okay, that's the number. Is it safe? And there's a lot of people who have all kinds of conspiracy theories about whether or not, what are we doing? We might be setting ourselves up for, something really, really horrible. Well, with that many people in this country having taken the vaccine, you would think that we would hear with social media, if it's not going to be reported in the news, you would think that we would get all kinds of reports about how just the vaccine itself is killing people all over. Or if it's not, the vaccine isn't killing people, then it's at least sending people to the hospital. But that's not what's happening right now. All right, the vaccine is safe. All right, so real quick, the real simple point there. When you have, and I'll sort of throw this up now. So, and this is a couple days old here, so I'm sure it's a little bit more. But bottom line is, if 175 million people in this country, we have roughly 340 million people living in the United States. If 175 million people are vaccinated, then you're going to be, and something's wrong with the vaccine. I mean, common sense. We'd be overwhelmed with people, with the news on social media that stay away from this vaccine. Okay, and that's 1 out of every 2 people in this country, and you're not even counting kids, so adults. All right, so let's just use our common sense. The vaccine is safe, and that was the point. Let's see what Jen had to say about it. It's not now when you say safe, that's always relative, because you're going to always have a certain percentage of people who have, adverse reactions to any vaccine. And I won't go into breaking that down yet. I do have the receipts.
I like numbers.
You know what? Let's talk about that a little bit real quick. So that's my point. They're safe. Now, adverse reactions, they do happen. I just pulled this up. Any vaccine, and these are vaccines that we've been taking. I threw up a little chart here of the vaccines that we take right now, that everybody in this country, I won't say everyone, but the vast majority of people in this country end up having to take. All right, so you see the diphtheria, tetanus vaccine, measles, mumps, rubella. No vaccine is 100% going to be taken without some type of, in the population, without some risk of an adverse reaction, depending on what it is. All right, and so you see here, the different allergic reactions that people have to vaccines. With this one per 1 million doses. With this type of reaction to the measles, mumps, rubella vaccine, 1 per 20,000 doses, 1 per million doses. So it doesn't even take. We know this just from common sense, that any vaccine that's out there is not, 100% free of risk. And so, that comes with the territory, and nothing's going to be perfect.
Numbers, right? Because I think that media uses numbers to sway opinion, right? They use it for everything. They use it for the vote. They use it for vaccines. They use it for McDonald's, right?
Now, this is important, and I'm going to rewind this just a little bit, pull it back. Her response to my point that the vaccines are safe is she likes numbers. And then she goes right in. Hold on real quick.
I like numbers, right? Because I think that media uses numbers to sway opinion, right? They use it for everything.
Now this point, media uses numbers to sway opinion. If the numbers are accurate, why wouldn't the media use numbers to sway opinion?
They use it for the vote. They use it for vaccines. They use it for McDonald's, right? Media uses numbers.
That's reasonable to me, as long as the numbers are accurate. That's what you want to do. And right now, for my point, I'm using numbers. I'm saying that the vaccine is safe based on the fact that half the U.S. adult population has taken it, and you don't see a significant number of people dropping off or having to go to the hospital or, negative effects. We're not growing a sixth toe. I'm not developing mutant powers because of the vaccine.
Right. When we look at numbers, I think half of the United States population getting the vaccine it's a great number. I think
it's a great number.
To think that the entire population is going to get vaccinated is a little silly.
Okay, so that's her response to my numbers argument. I'm gonna let her go here. Half is nice. To think everybody is going to get it is a little silly. I mean, well, first of all, I don't think everyone gets all of any vaccine. Again, we all have to take certain vaccines just to get an education in public schools in this country. And that's the vast majority of us. And I would say even with all of these vaccines that are out that have been administered, some for a generation, others for many, many years, not everybody in the country has taken the vaccine. So, really that's a straw man. That's creating something, an argument that was not presented. And Jen is reacting the way that, according to how she feels about it. But that argument wasn't made. And even if it was made, I think we all can agree that even with any vaccine, it's not going to be 100%. So, I reject that argument.
I also don't believe in the mandate, because mandates, whenever something is mandated in this government, as you know, people of color always get the worst end of the stick.
All right. So now what just happened was her response to, from my perspective, is a very powerful argument about the sheer numbers of people who have taken the vaccine and the sheer lack of negative reaction to it, meaning that the vaccine is safe. So for me, I wanted to start out by saying that the vaccines are safe. And to me, I proved the point. However, she doesn't acknowledge the point. She says numbers are nice, and she gives us a nice little explanation about how the media uses the numbers. And then she says she thinks it's silly that to expect that everybody's going to take the vaccine. I mean, they do not address my point. My mistake was not, just drilling, not making sure that we acknowledge that point is a powerful one. Now, whether or not she agrees with it, I don't, she didn't get it. She didn't say it, and I didn't press her to tell me whether or not that point is as an agreed upon point. So now she's pivoting to a completely different point, and I let her do it. So it's not like she's doing anything wrong here. If anything, this is me failing the topic. All right. This is me failing the topic.
No matter what the mandate is, right? In New York City, for instance, when they started stop and frisk, right? That's a general law. Stop and frisk. Just watch somebody walking down the.
All right. So now we're bringing in. Now we're bringing in stop and frisk, a law, and we're comparing it to vaccine mandates. All right. Again, this is Jen is doing her thing, but this is me letting her get away with it. So, in terms of these debates, they're always good, but I see I'm going to have to grow and learn and make sure that I allow, if we're going to have these back and forth, I can't allow space for arguments that are tangential to, say, a point that I made without her at least acknowledging it, one way or the other. She made a couple comments. Now she's about to talk about something completely different and drag the debate somewhere else.
Street and stop and frisk them in case they have a weapon. But as you saw, what happened was they were targeting Black and Latino, right?
Mm-hmm.
They were targeting, Josh and Julie up in the suburbs. They were targeting us. So I feel real funny about the word mandate, because we always get the short end of the stick.
Okay, so we got a stop and frisk law, which has its own, first of all, not nationwide. This was in New York where this was happening. And, she made a very valid point about how stop and frisk was used to target Blacks and other ethnic minorities. And it was very horrible, but she wants to compare a law in New York, and she's going to use that as an example of saying, this is why I don't like mandates. I get shaky whenever we talk about mandates. I'm going to let her continue her point here.
There's also a fear-based system that goes on with numbers, right? They keep throwing at us the numbers of how many people are dying, because
if they're accurate, I don't see anything wrong with that.
It sways opinion, right?
Right, and it should sway opinion. If I'm coming to you with a numbers-based argument and the numbers are accurate and the numbers are saying that, hey, 8 out of 9, if you catch this, and I'm just making this up, 8 out of 9 people die if you get exposed to, a vaccine. Are you going to pay attention to the numbers on that if they're accurate?
Right? But there are so many other diseases and illnesses that are killing us by the hundreds of thousands annually that no one is talking about, right?
Okay. Many, and this is, again, I would be rude if I just interrupted her on every one of these points that she's bringing up. So now let's not talk about, the worldwide pandemic that when people are getting it, they are actually dying at a higher rate, a much, much higher rate. And I'll talk about this a little bit later than, anything else out there that we can catch. Let's not talk about that. Let's instead talk about these other, right now in terms of the debate, unproven diseases or things that hundreds of thousands of people are dying from and no one's talking about, and I let her get away with that.
So we can't diminish or underestimate the power of media. To your point, you said, hey, if people were getting sick and dying, it at least would be on social media. Well, there have been reports on social media, but as you know, again, Facebook and Instagram control the COVID content.
Okay, a couple points there. So she's saying, hey, to your point, hey, they're out there, but the social media is not letting it out. So there's this, conspiracy-minded mindset that she's bringing to the debate that, for me, has to be proven. It's fine to believe that. That's your opinion, but you're going to have to prove that. And it really doesn't address my original point. There's no way that any social media, Twitter, Facebook, Insta, there's no way that if, 1 out of every 2 people, so maybe half the people, 60, 75% of people take it, something bad happens. There's no way that social media is going to control tens of millions of people reporting that something bad is going on with the vaccine. All right. So that's just not going to happen.
That's why people now are posting things without using the entire word vaccine and without using the entire word COVID, because we're being flagged for different things that they say. But I have seen numbers. I've seen about 8,000 to 9,000.
Okay, she's going to make another point here. So listen, so there are people reporting adverse reactions, but as I mentioned earlier, that's to be expected. And those numbers are going to be really, really low. And, let me just bring that up real quick. She's going to talk about the number of deaths as, one of the adverse reactions. In fact, let's just let her get that out.
Deaths after the vaccine.
Pull that back
for different things that they say, but I have seen numbers. I've seen about 8,000 to 9,000 deaths after the vaccine, and I know people personally who had the vaccine. All
right, so I'll stop there. 8,000 to 9,000 deaths. So here, this is from the CDC's website. All right, and so there are a number of adverse reactions also from this same page that are being reported, but I'll focus on deaths for now and come back to the point. So here, more than 369 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines were administered. COVID-19 vaccines were administered in the U.S. from December 14th through August 30th of this year. December 14th of 2020 to August 30th of this year. During this time, and I don't know what that acronym stands for, received 7,218 reports of death. That is 0.0020% among people who received the COVID-19. FDA requires healthcare providers to report any death after a COVID-19 vaccination to, again, VAERS. I don't know what that acronym stands for, even if it's unclear whether the vaccine was the cause. So 0.002%. That we out of, you're dealing with numbers now that's really hard for the human mind just to really, really wrap its tangible mind, make it tangible. 369 million cases. All right, visualize that. right now, try to visualize 369 million of anything. It's really hard. It's a huge number. Okay. Try to visualize that. You probably can't. All right. Just think of a huge number. Then try to visualize 0.0020%. That's of all those doses. That's how many reported people who've died from it. All right. So if we were to try to make this into numbers that we could easily digest, just try to imagine, say, 100 people, and then the number who died is so far less than one person here, like 1,000%. Okay, died from the vaccine. So bottom line is, when you go to things like this to say that somehow the vaccine can be harmful, then you're you're not talking, if you're not critically thinking about the actual number, then you're not thinking about it in a way that is rational. Thinking about it in a way that's irrational. I know some people who died, 7,000 people maybe sound like a lot until you realize that almost 370, that's out of 370 million doses. So, again, nothing's going to be 100% safe when we talk about it. So the question that ends up having to be asked is, you're going to take a risk one way or the other. What are the risks associated with taking the vaccine versus what are the risks associated with not taking the vaccine? Let's let her keep going.
And are literally right now, one of my good friends is on a ventilator in the hospital with blood clots in his lungs. After he took the vaccine, he is now COVID positive, and he's fighting that. So we can't say that, hey, you just take the vaccine, you go on about your business. And some people are going to have some symptoms, but that's okay. It's way more than that, but it's not.
All right. And so, yeah, I think we can. And that's the thing. The power of these anecdotal stories, from my perspective, they're the ones that's promoting fear of the vaccine, an irrational fear of the vaccine. All right. So she said her point was that the numbers, the way that the media uses them, are creating an unhealthy or irrational fear, so that to drive people to take the vaccine, fear of dying. And I'm saying, no, when you look at these, because somebody, one person, out of millions who had some negative adverse effect to taking the vaccine. In this case, not all the vaccines you're talking about. That one was it wasn't the Pfizer or the Moderna. It was probably the Johnson & Johnson or the other one. Now that becomes an indictment. All vaccines aren't safe. Meanwhile, it's going through and it's causing people to risk dying at an extremely high rate. And I'm going to talk about those rates in a minute.
Being reported, because if the agenda is for everyone to get the vaccine, then they're not going to report that. Also, it's a trust thing with me, right? Forget the conspiracy theory.
That's what we're getting to. Let's hear her issue with the trust.
Let's just do with facts. Forget conspiracies. Forget aliens are coming. Let's do with facts.
Right after you hit me with 2 conspiracy theories, but anyway, go ahead.
What was the conspiracy? Which one?
The 1,000. How many people you said actually died? 9,000 people.
8,000 people.
8,000 died.
And this was a while back, so I don't know how many now.
But I'm gonna need the receipts. But go ahead.
Okay, but here's the thing: where'd you get your receipt from?
So I go to sources like CDC, the U.S. FDA, and I know people have comments about that, and then mainstream media sources. Okay, so I'm gonna stop there. So what you have is, she just basically flat out stated, okay, she does not trust. She has an issue trusting, say, the CDC. The sources, the authorities. And certainly she has that's something that we probably should always do, is come in with a healthy amount of skepticism with whatever information that we've been given from whatever source. So she's asking me to, now we're talking about the CDC, which is an established organization, and she's saying, "Hey, I don't trust them." And now we've got this thing now where she's gonna have to, instead of sort of saying, "Well, hey, you know what? I'm gonna come in and I have a sort of a healthy skepticism." She's gonna ask me. She's diverting kind of the debate to make me to prove why should I trust, an organization like this that, from my standpoint, is an extremely credible organization that, generally speaking, should generally be trusted. Not to say that they are right about everything and you should do everything and believe everything that they say, but that, generally speaking, we should be trusting the CDC much more than distrusting the CDC. So now I got to answer the question.
So you trust the CDC?
I do.
You do?
When you ask me that question, I will put the reputation of the CDC up against any random Facebooker or YouTuber who just decide to get on and say whatever they want to say and cite some obscure. I'll put CDC against them anytime, any day.
Okay, now aside from just the average YouTuber or Facebooker or Instagrammer, you trust the CDC. Why? You think they have your back?
So that can be aside from the average YouTuber, Facebooker, Instagrammer. I guess she's saying she doesn't want me to compare here the CDC versus other sources. But that's exactly what's happening when we're getting this alternative information. This is you and I, regular people. That's where we're getting the information. Where are we getting it from? So when you make a comparison and you say, well, you don't trust the CDC, then it's like, well, who do you trust? If you don't trust the CDC, okay, who do you trust? And most of us are getting our information now. If you don't trust the CDC, you're not trusting the major news networks. Where are you getting your information from?
Best interest in heart as a Black man in America.
Okay, and then look how you frame the question. Of course, I got to answer this. Do you trust the CDC as a Black man in America? I think that the CDC presents information that can be that's upfront, verifiable, and they give you all the information.
Okay.
All right, so that's why that goes into what I'm talking about. When you go, instead of listening to or sort of going and getting, say, information secondhand from Facebook or some social media website, when we're talking about the CDC, how about just going to the CDC website yourself and then reading what you see there and evaluating critically the information that they give you? What you find is they do what I just said. They are thorough about just giving you the information and then making whatever their recommendation is based on the information.
Just using common sense. Mm-hmm. If the CDC is for the vaccine, what are the facts you think they're going to spit at you? If I'm for something, right? If I'm for essential water, do you think I'm ever going to talk badly about essential water if I want you to buy it? Just common sense, no conspiracy. I work for the CDC. You think I'm ever going to give you any negative numbers, regarding the COVID? If I'm for the vaccine and I think the vaccine works, why would I do that?
Right. See, so from her standpoint, the CDC, and again, all you got to do is just go. And this is why let me just go ahead and just share this. All right. So all you have to do, if you're wondering, this is the CDC, all right, Center for Disease Control and Prevention. All right. This is one of many, many, many pages on the website. This one's about COVID, the vaccines. Go here. And the CDC is not trying to hide anything from anybody about the research that they have gotten about COVID. They're not trying to make up something and only tell you the positive. The CDC gives you all of the information based on what they've gotten so far. So they make a determination here about this anaphylaxis after COVID vaccination is rare. That's their determination. They made that determination because so far from what they've seen, approximately 2 to 5 people per million vaccinated in the United States suffer this. All right. So if that's what the numbers are telling you, then this is the conclusion that they can draw and on down. And they're not hiding the numbers. All of these things are happening. And it's not like the CDC is saying none of this is happening. And so, hey, the vaccine is good. Take it. They're giving you the information here. Now they have a recommendation based on it, but they're giving you the information. And you see here, you just link it and just chase it down if you want to. You know, you can find out all about mRNA vaccines if you wanted to from here. You know, the bottom line, the information is here. So this argument falls flat. If I said something was good, I'm going to stop this real quick. Again, I'm going to stop this screen. Let's go back to her. Well, I mean, I think the logic is backward. Go back to her question.
You think they're going to spit at you? If I'm for something, right? If I'm for essential water, do you think I'm ever going to talk badly about essential water if I want you to buy it?
Okay. Sounds like such a reasonable question, right? Until you go to the website and you see that CDC is not trying to give you all positive information. They're just trying to give you the information.
Just common sense, no conspiracy. I work for the CDC. You think I'm ever going to give you any negative numbers, you know, regarding the COVID if I'm for the vaccine and I think the vaccine works? Why would I do that?
Well, I mean, I think the logic is backward. I think that the CDC is for the vaccine because the facts present that the vaccine works. I don't think that the CDC as an organization comes in saying vaccine, 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 this is where we are. And that's exactly, they didn't do that at the beginning. When you go back, if you want to go back and do the research, you'll find that the CDC didn't have this stance that they have right now. So now this is what we're going to do to support it. I think it's the other way around. I think that the facts are dictating that the CDC is for the vaccine. And so because of that, that's what they tell you.
Okay. Has the CDC reported any number of deaths after the vaccine?
Okay. And I already just showed you that. So, yep.
Can you pull those numbers up?
Yeah, I'm going to pull up right now.
The reason why
I cut through and I'm going to, because that point is proven. All right, so the CDC did report the deaths and they reported everything else related to the vaccines as well.
We have trust issues. Everybody always thinks about, I noticed there's always online, Tuskegee, right? That's a big one. Everybody's always, Tuskegee. What about Tuskegee? We can't trust the government because of Tuskegee, right? But It goes so far beyond Tuskegee.
All right, so she brought up Tuskegee, and this again, when you're in the debate, and I don't want to be rude and cut her off at the time, but you know, in my reaction video, I have time now to point out that people who bring up the Tuskegee experiment they're mistaken about evidently the facts of what happened. Okay, I got it. So the myth of the Tuskegee experiments by Ta-Nehisi Coates. And this is old, and this is something that you can look up. This isn't true just because he wrote it. It's just I did a quick Google just so I can read to you what the facts are in succinct manner. Guys, it's time to stop claiming that the government injected Black men with syphilis. They did not. They refused to treat them and prevented them from getting a cure. I know it's only a minor difference, but it's an important one. We don't have to embellish, folks. The truth is hard enough, and the truth is hard enough. And that's the point. So here, this is being used right now in this debate as a way to say, don't trust the government. They could be giving you something that could hurt you. All right. And especially, you know, this is what we in the African-American community, this is what's prevalent. Don't trust the government because, hey, they did the Tuskegee experiment. Remember, they injected people with syphilis. They did not. The men contracted syphilis, went in to be treated, and then the government lied to them about treating them, withheld treatment just to see what would happen. And that's horrible enough, but that's not what happened here. So we got to stop bringing up the Tuskegee experiment as a way to somehow say, let's not trust the COVID vaccine. All right. And so let me just keep going.
There have been so many experiments on record, right?
So presumably this is one that was on record, right?
By our government that were medical experiments. It wasn't just Tuskegee, although Tuskegee was the main one, but there was
Okay. And it wasn't the main one. So we got to get our facts right.
so many. There was La Operación in Puerto Rico. There's what.
Okay. And I don't know about that one. All right. And so, she's kind of bringing in some other ones as well that I don't know what the deal was. But if we're going to lead with Tuskegee, then we got some issues.
Bill Gates is doing in Africa. So
Bill Gates doing in Africa. Okay. What exactly is Bill Gates doing in Africa? And what does that have to do with the efficacy of COVID-19 for everybody?
We have a reason not to trust. We don't know what these people are doing with masses of people of color. We just don't know. We don't have access like other people do. So you
okay. And now, see, part of the argument that she's making is that this is about people of color. She's bringing this up, people. And so we do have, as people of color, ethnic minorities, we should be looking at this. We definitely should be, again, bringing a healthy amount of, I guess you could say, skepticism to whomever, whatever the situation is. But the thing is, this vaccine is not being given to just one community. It's the same vaccine, whatever they are. Let's say I took the Pfizer, 2 doses. I'm taking the same vaccine that they're giving everybody else. It's not like somehow the government or whomever is creating different kinds of Pfizer vaccines for Black people, and so we shouldn't trust it. I got vaccinated at the University of North Florida. I looked at now here's the thing, you do have to think about it, because I'm not saying it's even something that should not be thought about. You do have to think about it. And I will say, going in, I'm like, I want to make sure I'm getting the same vaccine and everybody else. So I took a look at the lines and, how they were sending people to whom, and it was, you just went to the line and you went and sat down and you were getting the same shot that they were giving everybody else, and that's kind of a shame that we live in a society where African-American citizens or ethnic minorities have to think about that, because, that there is something to be said about the disparity of health coverage as it relates to race. And so you have to look at it and consider it. But that being said, they're giving the Pfizer to everybody. They're giving the Moderna to everybody. To my knowledge, Johnson & Johnson is being given to everybody. So we can't segment out our response and say that, whoa, people of color, we need to be careful here about the COVID vaccine. They're giving it to everybody, so it's safe for everybody.
We have to consider why we have trust issues when over the decades, they've shown us that we should have trust issues. There have been deaths. There have been, the number one, deaths in childbirth are Black and Latin women. Why is that happening?
Separate issue. And that she brings up, a very, very relevant statistic, but it's a completely different issue with a completely different set of circumstances around it. And so when you have a disparity like that, and then you talk about it, and it has to do with so many other things, they do not have to do with what this is. This is a virus that is affecting everyone the same. All right, it's wherever it goes. If you get exposed to it, you're getting exposed and you're catching it, and you're going through the similar thing as everyone else, no matter what ethnicity, race, culture. Okay, this one is not discriminating. All right, not just on that, anything. If you're a Republican, you're a Democrat, you're an independent. If you are a Christian or a Muslim or a different religion, all right, you have the same chance to get it as everybody else if you encounter it.
You know what I mean? It's like we have issues for a reason.
I want to definitely jump in here, because we're talking about, and I'm glad you took it here, this question and this notion of who do we trust when it comes to the information. are these sources, do they have ulterior motives? Are there things that they're hiding? Do they have an agenda? So I think that any critical thinker is going to look at that and think about it, and you have to, you have to consider your sources. Considering the fact that none of us are scientists, and type in the chat if you're a scientist or you're a bio. I don't know if Rush Ribbons is in here. She went to Harvard for med school. Maybe she's someone who can kind of give us some stuff here. But correction, I think it was biology, not med school, but very close. I only have a limited amount of expertise to bring to bear on stuff that is being brought to, information that's being shared, whatever the source. And that's the same story for everybody. So we have to turn to some source to trust. If not, then we're not trusting any source. And then my question will be, who do you trust?
Okay, I'm glad you brought up scientists, right?
Yeah, and she's about to make a point about scientists, but is that not a reasonable point? If you don't trust the authorities, so to speak, then who do you trust? And I welcome, if we have people who are going to refute the numbers, then first refute the numbers to me, and then tell me where I can get the accurate numbers. And then, after you refute the numbers, after you tell me the reasons why these numbers are not accurate, then we can go in and investigate your source, and we can see whether or not we have reason to believe that the numbers from your source are accurate. Okay, does that sound reasonable?
That's usually the response. Nobody, hey, I'm listening to the scientist. No one here is a scientist. Do we have a doctor in the room, right? Mm-hmm. Online, we've seen both doctors, nurses, and scientists debating each other, okay, about how bad the COVID vaccine is and isn't. So take us scientists out of it. Take us non-scientists out of it, or the ones with the uncle's brother who died from Alabama, but take them out of it. There are literal scientists, doctors and nurses. I've seen nurses on the floor crying in their emergency room, talking about they're misdiagnosing people. They're saying people have the COVID and don't have the COVID. Okay, they have scientists going head to head in boardrooms right now as we speak, saying this is good about it, this is not good about it. It's going to
get I have to ask you this question because you're talking about doctors arguing back and forth. So take a guess, or maybe you do know this. You tell me, worldwide, how many doctors, or even you don't have to do worldwide, in this country, how many doctors have actually taken the COVID, any form of any of the COVID-19 vaccines? If you had to guess that percentage, what would you guess it is?
I did kind of scroll by something like that not too long when I heard a lot of doctors aren't taking it.
Well, but did you get an actual percentage of the total number of doctors in this country who have taken the vaccine?
I don't want to lie. I have no idea.
Well, I have, and that number is 90%.
I don't believe it.
Okay, see, and so now we have to check the receipts. I could pull it up. Right there. So 90%. All right, so, okay. All right, so June 11th. So that was actually a couple months ago. I'm sure it's going to be either a little bit over this or a little bit under, depending on this. But this is a survey. American Medical Association released a survey showing that 96% of doctors fully vaccinated against COVID-19. All right. So this is just one source on the American Medical Association website. Okay. Who is the American Medical Association? What's the AMA? It's the AMA, if I'm not mistaken, it's been here for like over 170 years. It's an established medical association. I think I've seen numbers, and I have to look all this up. I don't want to bore you guys with the stats, but something like over 1 million medical practitioners are in it. If you cut that down, let's say that it's not even 1 million. Let's say that it's a fifth of that. That's still 200,000 medical practitioners, doctors in this country are surveyed, and the survey results show that 96% of them are fully vaccinated. Now, when you do a survey, of course, you're not getting every single person, but apparently this is a statistically relevant survey. But let's say you don't want to take this one, for example. I'm just going to take the time now to look up here. This is the AAMC. This is not the AMA, and so here, let's see. University of Iowa Hospitals and Clinics, which he oversees as CEO, does not plan to require vaccinations. With 91% of its 16,500 staff vaccinated, he believes nearly every worker at UI hospitals and clinics based in Iowa City will get vaccinated without the mandate. So for him, he's not going to require it because 91% of the 16,500 people working at these hospitals already have it. All right, so when we present this argument here that she's trying to present, that people are arguing back and forth, that somehow there's disagreement within the medical establishment about whether or not the vaccine is safe. When we do the research, and I just pulled up two kind of, quick medical association articles here. We can continue to drill down. This is what I invite you to do. That presentation is erroneous. All right, that's wherever she's getting her information. Okay, fine, but she obviously believes it, but it's inaccurate. And so we can't somehow present inaccurate information. And then, again, but it sounds good. She's telling good stories. Oh, they're crying on the floor. Let's just play that. 90% of the doctors have actually taken this vaccine. Now, a lower percentage, I want to play that, what she said. Doctors have
bad the COVID vaccine is and isn't. So
okay, can we stop you?
Scientists, doctors, nurses, and scientists debating each other, okay, about how bad the COVID vaccine is and isn't.
Wow. Okay. So all, from her, everybody on it, the doctors, the nurses, the scientists, they're all getting together and they're debating. This is a debate, according to her, for medical practitioners who understand COVID. That's how she's presenting the information. So if you listen to her, and you can be swayed by that argument, because you can, if you're already predisposed to think it's not safe for you anyway. Because, hey, doctors, they can't even agree. But that's not the case. And you do the research, you see that the overwhelming number of doctors know that it's safe. That's why they've taken it.
So
okay, can we stop you?
Scientists out of it. Take us non-scientists out of it, or the ones with who died from Alabama, but take them out of it. There are literally scientists, doctors, and nurses. I've seen nurses on the floor crying in their emergency room, talking about they're misdiagnosing people. They're saying people have the COVID and don't.
See, stuff like that is extremely persuasive, and I'm sure she's telling the truth from her perspective here. But then you tell a story like that, and that nurses are crying because of misdiagnoses of COVID.
Have the COVID, okay? They have scientists going head to head in boardrooms right now as we speak, saying this is good about it, this is not good about it. It's going to
be I have to ask you this question because you're talking about doctors arguing back, and okay. So take a guess. Fast forward a little bit. The total number of. All right, here we go. Here's the key part. And so now we have to check the receipt.
Doctors aren't taking it.
Well, but did you get an actual percentage of the total number of doctors in this country who have taken the vaccine?
I don't want to lie. I have no idea.
Well, I have, and that number is 90%.
I don't believe it.
I don't believe it. And that's fine. Maybe it's not 90. Maybe it's 85. I don't know. Maybe it's 95. But it's certainly not anywhere near 50-50. But she doesn't believe it. So, I mean, what do I have to do? There are a lot of people out here who think like this, who don't think that, if this was some kind of conspiracy where, everybody is trying to, where, the CDC is trying to basically make people take a vaccine that's not healthy for you. And the first people who are taking it and who are mostly vaccinated are your medical practitioners. then I guess that the conspiracy is let's kill off all the doctors first, right? Let's kill off all the medical all over this country, so that what would be what's step two after you kill off all the doctors, because they took the vaccines, right? What's step two then? I guess now the evil people at the CDC get to run everything now because all of our doctors are dead. Not to mention all the, all these doctors still owe hundreds of $1,000s on student loan. I guess we're gonna go ahead and kill out all. We don't want our money back. These are millions of doctors now owing hundreds of millions, probably into the billions, student loans. Let's just forgive all those because we got our master plan. Let's kill them off. We're not getting that money back. Okay, see, and so now we have to check the receipts. I could price, and I'll move forward a little bit. Whatever, world who understands.
I think as people of color, we have a double whammy. Okay, I think.
Notice he keeps going back to the people. I am trying to make arguments based from the numbers, from the actual verifiable facts about, the safety of it and the efficacy of it. And I'm debating someone who wants to play a certain angle from, the racial perspective and how we can't trust what they are saying because of the people of color perspective.
I think we have a double whammy. I don't think it's as simplistic for us to say, hey, they came out with a vaccine, let's go run out and get it. I always feel.
Why not? I guess she's going to tell us why not, but that's the case. Vaccines out. It's the same vaccine for everybody. It was tested and developed with everyone in mind. And we're getting the vaccine, and it's not like, again, there, 75 million people took it. Let's say that of those are vaccinated, let's say that of those, we have roughly 35 million people Black people live in this country. Let's say 10, 15 million of those are actually vaccinated. Let's say half, close to half. If it was bad for Black people, we'd be dropping off. Like, I took it. I took the vaccine, the vaccine. I took the Pfizer, and a lot of Black people I know took the Pfizer. I guess our time is limited, huh? I took it back in April, so I guess I'll drop off here in the next week or two.
Feel like we're more at risk. Mm-hmm. A lot of us don't have medical insurance. Okay, a lot of us don't have any kind of insurance, right? Mm-hmm. So.
Okay, what's insurance got to do with taking the vaccine?
So if there is a complication, we don't have the funds or the power, okay?
Okay, if there's a complication. All right, so we haven't even proven that there's a realistic chance of there being a complication based on our race. But now, let's bring in the fact that it's going to be harder on us if we do get it. So now let's bring in, we're not insured, all the other disparities in the medical establishment.
Okay, or access to the doctors that can save us from half the stuff that can go wrong in this country. I just say, as a person of color, you have to be extra careful, because if there are complications, right?
You do have to be extra careful. I agree with that.
If you were just fine, right? Now you got the COVID vaccine. Now you have all these, adverse reactions, and what are you going to do about it?
All these adverse reactions.
Like, what are you going to do about it?
So again, layering here. All right. So number one, overplaying the possibility of an adverse reaction. That's number one. Then number two, okay, now that you get it, how can you remedy? What's the remedy? It's already bad. You don't have insurance. We already have disparities in the healthcare system. So in her mind, she really thinks it's a double whammy.
We're not really in the position that other people are to mess around like this, right? So mm-hmm. I would recommend, to me, gente, make sure your health is up, okay? Make sure you don't smoke cigarettes. And if you do, quit. Do not drink liquor. Work out. Stay healthy. Get your rest.
Okay. And so that's what a lot of people I've heard say, you know what, you don't need the vaccine. Just make sure you stay healthy. And so I won't even take the time to take us to the cases across all races where people thought exactly that. Not just one or two, many completely healthy gym rats, completely healthy. They eat the right thing, they put the right things in their body, paragon of health, get this vaccine and it takes them, get this virus and it takes them out. Being healthy alone, eating healthy alone, having a high immune system alone is not going to protect you. Please do not play with this virus.
Eliminate the stress from your life, because the most important thing that you can have in your body against disease is your immune system. Okay.
And I'm laughing because she really believes it. But this is what our immune system against this virus, the notion that it's going to, everything else being equal, if you are exposed to it, your immune system is going to protect you from getting it, that's like a laughable notion to me. That's like, oh, you really think that way? Bless your heart. That's how I feel about it. So I'm not laughing at her. I'm laughing at the notion. Because that's just not the case.
I cannot put my trust in a lab coat. I've done it before, and I got the big fail for it.
Okay, and see, this is really important here. Do not put her trust in a lab coat. So what happens is, right now, that's the perspective, and a lot of people have that. But what happens when you get sick and you can't breathe? You're going and you're putting your trust in the lab coat. You're gonna go straight to the hospital. All right, and that's exactly what they all do. So it's easy to say it now before, you get it, and before you face, if you happen to be unlucky enough to be one of those that have to face the realities. But, before you, completely sell out on that position, you should probably talk to some people who have had it, who did have to go, who decided to go to the hospital. They went to the lab coats, and it saved their lives. And they'll tell you how the necessity of those lab coats now that you refuse to trust now, you're going to trust them then when you're going to trust them later when your life depends on it. Okay.
About right here. But personal experience. So it's not just the cousin, uncle's brother's baby daddy from Nana Block. It's just that we have to be extra careful as people of color. We can't line up with them other folk. You know what I mean? Because we get the worst of the worst in our neighborhood, right?
See, I'm being too nice right here. I'm not saying I should be mean and not be cordial, but I'm not pressing her on the issue, because that's exactly what we should be doing. We should be lining up with everybody else. This isn't an issue that you can break down into the injustices of race when it comes to getting the shot. It's not that kind of issue.
Okay. Send this over. Like right now, the abortion ban. What are they saying? That we are not going to have access. I
don't want to talk about abortion.
Well, we don't get that on another show.
So, okay, so at least I didn't let her take it into abortion. I mean, this has nothing to do with it. We'll talk about abortion another time. But I'm just being extremely, I'm being a pushover here, just letting her talk about whatever she wants, however it is, instead of asking her to reckon with the reasoned points that I'm bringing up in terms of sheer numbers, sheer logic. Please explain this away, and if you can't, then concede the point. That's what I should be doing. So I'm giving it away, people. So allow me to do this then, and we're gonna bring some other people. I just dropped the link. If other people want to jump in, take objection to me or you, hey, Brent, come on, let's do it. Now, but let me pivot and see if I can somehow add this to the argument. So I've just tried to cover the safety of it, but now I want to talk a little bit about the effectiveness of the vaccines. So as we know, the country got the vaccines, and getting the vaccines are in part of the reason why we were able to open things up and got things under control. Then we had the Delta variant come along. And guess what's happening with the Delta variant? If you're not convinced about the safety, then let's talk about effectiveness. Because if you do the research and you see, you just watch the news, you go to the sites, what you find is that the Delta variant, more than 90%, at least here in this state, in Florida, I think it's like this wherever it is, more than 90% of the people who are being hospitalized with the Delta variant, which is just COVID, another strain, are unvaccinated. They don't have the vaccine. So the people who are filling up the hospitals right now are the people who don't have the vaccine. And we're talking again, these are hundreds of thousands into the millions when you talk about the country of the people who are actually getting it. The people who have the vaccines aren't the ones in the hospitals. Now, you do have the small minority, you do have that 5 to 10% of people who have gotten the vaccine who are in the hospitals. This is me being nice. But the overwhelming majority of the people who are now taking up all these beds in the ICU, right now in Florida, less than 10% of the available ICU beds in this state are available now. Why? Because unvaccinated people have caught the Delta variant, and they're the ones on the ICU bed right now. So I'm just throwing in right here, and this is actually somewhere else. So I was talking about Florida, but in Los Angeles County, recent study showed that while breakthrough infections can happen, it's the unvaccinated. They are 29 times as likely to end up hospitalized from COVID-19 as a vaccinated person. But my point is, the second part of my point is, if you don't want to trust the safety of it, then how about look at the effectiveness of the vaccine? Us vaccinated, I have 2 shots of the Pfizer, and people like me, we're not going to the hospital. What do you say about that? All right, so very direct question about the effectiveness. I forget what she's going to say here, but beyond the shadow of a doubt, right now with Delta, it's the unvaccinated who end up in these ICU beds as opposed to the vaccinated people. So vaccine clearly works, right?
I'm sorry, I don't believe it. I think that those numbers were put out to sway fear.
All right, so you see here, and I explain to me. So she doesn't believe it because she has another point of view about it. So let me just play this and see what the point of view is, and let's see if I was being too nice about it. Let's see if I was being too nice. I have receipts, but go ahead. All right, so that's being nice right there. I should have immediately cut in and asked her to, or at least show the receipts, or just stay on this. That right there to me is being too nice. But I wanted to say what she's got to say, so let's hear what she's got to say.
Listen, the president of the United States said the other day, right? It wasn't the other day technically, but he was like, "This new Delta variant, this is the pandemic of the unvaccinated." Right?
And that's true. It is the pandemic of the unvaccinated, because it's the unvaccinated people who are getting it and having to go to the hospital. Like, what's wrong with that statement?
Right? It's like we're like an alien. We're an alien population now.
Okay, nobody said that. You're just unvaccinated. All right, you're refusing to take the vaccine. All of you who are not taking it. All right, you're not alien. You're regular people. You're just deciding that that's not for you, and so you're unvaccinated, and you are. The consequences of that are you are getting COVID. And when you get it, it's sending many of you to the hospital, to these ICU beds.
It's like, this is the fault of the unvaccinated. That's why this is going on.
That's right. That's right.
And again, it is. It's fear-based. It's like, when you hear that, let's say I'm here.
Fear-based. Let's see this is what she brings in here. Let's hear what her point is about fear-based. I think it's factual. Go ahead.
and you're sitting at home, you're like, I'm not getting the vaccine no matter what, honey. It's not going to happen. And then you hear breaking news. 50% of the people that are filling the hospital beds are not vaccinated. Do you want to die?
I'm all for it.
Right now. That is what's happening right now.
All right, so she's stretching it. They're not actually saying that. But the point is taken. Yeah. Let's let her finish.
You don't want to die, do you?
Yes.
No. I'm not falling for it. It's too fear-based for me.
Okay, so what's the deal with that part? Let me just let her finish out, and then I'm gonna say
I'm not falling for it. Get your health up would be my advice. But I also think to each his own. We're talking about should COVID vaccines be mandated. I don't think anything that has to do with your body should be done by force, right? And if you have a fear of death to that point, then your problem is bigger than COVID, I feel. No one should be that afraid to die.
No one should be that afraid to die. It's fear-based. It's like, how do you respond to that? I mean, number one, what's wrong with not wanting to die? I don't get that part. And of course, you don't want to be, you don't want, I could see, okay, you saying, I am not going to go outside and, say, walk to the corner store because, I don't want to die. Because technically there is some risk involved, some little small, completely minuscule risk involved where something could happen to you from walking outside to the corner store where you might die. All right. So if that's what she's trying, if that's the comparison she's trying to make, I mean, all right, that's reasonable. What's not reasonable is equating saying that, hey, maybe she doesn't know the numbers. So let's talk about the numbers real quick. Let me bring this up real quick. All right. So talk about getting COVID and then what can happen from it. Bring this up. So compared to the 2019-2020 flu season. All right. So this was the flu season right before the pandemic hit. All right. Pandemic hit January 2020. Well, it arrived in a full blown a little bit later. CDC estimated that more than 38 million people became sick with the flu. All right. And remember this number, 38 million in that year, leading to 400,000 hospitalizations and 22,000 deaths that year. All right. And that's slightly lower than the 2018-2019 season where a little over 34,000 people died, and a lot less than 2017-2018 when 61,000 people died. All right, so this 61,000 high right here in 2017-2018 was like a 10 or 15 year high. We have to go back and look at it. It's like it was a spike in the last 10 years. Compare that to the pandemic, where roughly it's about the same amount, 40 million people. Let's see. All right, data tracker. All right, as of now, from the beginning of the pandemic, total cases reported 39,488,866. I'm sure that's right on that. So just a little bit over the number of flu cases that were reported that year. All right, so 38 million. And guess what? How many people have died from COVID? All right. So this is a different one. They put it over 40,000 in 40 million, almost 41 million in the United States. How many people have died from COVID? 666,236. So compare those numbers to the numbers I just showed you for the flu. For the flu, roughly 38 million people, 22,000 people died that year. All right. So how many more times is likely, to die from COVID, as of the current stats right now, as you dying from the flu back in that year that I showed you? All right. So that's why it's important.
And if you have a fear of death to that point, then your problem is bigger than COVID, I feel.
If you have a fear of death to this point, your problem is bigger than COVID.
No one should be that afraid to die.
371 No one should be that afraid to die. I'm sorry, I'm kind of that afraid to die. Okay. I'm not going to put myself out in a situation where I'm risking, me not being here. I got a lot to live for, right? So do we all, right? Since people are and I'll kind of end with this, since people are really, from my perspective, really, really, not taking this as seriously as they need to, I want to share a couple things from a doctor, a physician, someone who I know personally, who I knew while he was in medical school, when he was 2 years out from graduating. And I knew him when he went through his internships, when he went through, I forget what they call it, it's a different word. When they go through, is it clinicals? I forget what they call it when they go through and have to earn their through experience. You get your experience and then you earn your tenure. Here's some recent stuff he shared. Let me first share this. All right, so which one I want to show first? All right, so COVID patients in Charlotte. This is Charlotte now. All right, I live in Jacksonville, Florida, but now this is Charlotte. Area hospitals. 933 people hospitalized, and this is recent data. This is like maybe a day or two old. Out of those 933 people who were hospitalized, 857 were unvaccinated. 76 were vaccinated. That means that 92% of the people who were hospitalized just in this area were unvaccinated. Of these people, 126 of them are on life support. All right, of those 126 people on life support, 122 of them were unvaccinated. 4 were vaccinated. That means that of the 933 that were hospitalized, 97% of these people were unvaccinated. Okay, and this is stats that he shared from his area going through. This is a specific hospital, Augusta University Health. All right, so one hospital. 123 patients at that one hospital were hospitalized. All right, and this is a little graph showing how many people were vaccinated. They're in the teal, and then in the white, that's how many people were unvaccinated. 5 in this hospital were vaccinated. 118 were unvaccinated. All right, you doubt this? Just go look it up. I guess the hospital's lying too. They're part of the conspiracy. Of these people who are hospitalized, 48 are in the ICU. 48 of them. That's getting close to half. How many of them were vaccinated? 1. How many are unvaccinated? 47. Okay. Ventilators. So even beyond the stage of the ICU, 35 of them are actually on ventilators. How many were vaccinated that are on ventilators? 1. All the rest, 34, were not vaccinated. Okay, so when the media, I guess, who's a part of the conspiracy, they're telling you, or I guess it was Biden, the example that Jen used, is telling you that this is a pandemic of the unvaccinated. Where is the lie? The media is telling you that it's the unvaccinated people who are helping to push this forward. Where is the lie? Where is it? So these are some words that he shared about this. All right, and he wants to talk about them. These, I'm just going to read these verbatim. This is an actual doctor who is in the situation. These are the stats in my hospital, and about an hour up the road in Charlotte, we have several pregnant patients intubated in the ICU. So pregnant patients, we're not even considering, that part. 1 got put on ECMO, a total heart and lung bypass. Wow. Essentially a Hail Mary when multi-organ failure sets in. And we had to do a bedside emergency C-section on her last Thursday at 29 weeks. All right. So if these personal stories resonate with you, here's some personal stories for you. Another pregnant patient with COVID in the ICU went blind from bilateral retinal vein and artery thromboses due to COVID and is also still intubated and not really mentally alert. We just got a memo today about how we should consider not resuscitating COVID patients who code in the ICU due to the extremely poor prognosis in that situation and likely futility of care. It's very bleak. Okay, so is my friend who I knew going to med school and going all the way through to where he is right now, is my friend part of the conspiracy? Is he lying to you? Or are these stories made up? You tell me. All right, and that's part of the reason. Right now it's Labor Day. I'm recording this on Labor Day. Part of the reason why I'm recording this is because right now, today on Labor Day, and there's nothing I can do about it. I wish there was anything, I wish there was something I could do about it. Right now, people don't believe, they're playing with COVID, and they're out likely having barbecues, getting together. They're inside gathering, for family gatherings. They're ignoring it. They're having fun, and guess what? In 3 weeks from now, these people who are unvaccinated, a certain percentage of them are going to be going through this right here, are going to have to be hospitalized. A certain percentage of them are going to have to go to the ICU, and a certain percentage of them are going to die. And it's because today, right now, they don't believe that the COVID vaccine is safe. We really, really, really want you. And the whole reason why I'm even doing this and staying with it is because I'm hoping that somebody listens and decides to go ahead and get the Pfizer like I did. That's what I'm hoping, or at least get you to thinking about it so that you can get away from a lot of these stories that are inaccurate and that are misleading. Okay. All right, so I think that's it. I think that I just wanted to bring that up and kind of respond to the debate, react to the debate. Looking forward to having more, and I'm learning from these. Part of what I'm definitely learning is that I definitely need to press the major points home, and don't let slide when people are giving, and this isn't just Jen, this is anybody. People come, want to jump in and give arguments without the receipts and without, the arguments that don't, that aren't based in provable reality. I just put it like that. Okay. All right. So I don't want to get too serious about it. Thank you so much. And you know what? Maybe I should hang around if anybody wants to comment on it, then please feel free to do so. All right, so that was me. Recorded that earlier today and decided to put this on and do it in a live. That way, if it's any conversation that people want to have based on my breakdown of the previous debate, then we could have the conversation. So what I'm going to do is I will drop the link, and I'm really open to hearing what really I would, in a way, if you want to, if people want to, well, let me put it this way. If you want to get up and speak on it and you disagree with me, then I am going to hear you. I want to hear you, but I am going to have a very short patience if you don't want to talk about frame the subject the way that I'm framing it. And you heard this whole thing. Most of you were here for most of it. Some of you came in late. I am speaking in favor of the vaccine, the Pfizer vaccine in particular, from the standpoint that I believe that it is safe, and I brought the receipts on why I thought it was safe. I also am in favor of it because I believe that it is effective, and I brought the receipts on why I think it's effective. All right, so if you disagree with me, if you think that the Pfizer vaccine is not safe, then I want to hear from you, because I want to hear why you think it's not safe. And maybe we'll have a debate about it, but I don't, on that point, or really I want to hear why you think my information that I presented is not the proper information. Now think about it. I mean, if you want to talk about why you think it's unsafe and you want to get into all kind of conspiracy theories, and I might let you say them in the conversation, but I'm not interested in diving down those rabbit holes. I'm interested in hearing from you. I'm gonna go ahead and put this in the chat right now. I'm interested in hearing, okay, well, what's the problem with how I'm thinking about it? That's what I want you to do. So if I was up here saying, listen, guys, 2 + 2 is 5, period. And this is why I think 2 + 2 is 5. And everybody in here was like, the old Frank, you got this one wrong. 2 + 2 is 4. And I'm going to show you why. Then you'd be able to call right on in and show your receipts on why 2 + 2 is 4. Boom. And you can say, you'd be able to show me, and then I can tell you, I could see, oh, you know what? I'm dead wrong. 2 + 2 really is 4. That's what I'm interested in. Tell me why I'm wrong right here. Tell me why the Pfizer in particular, since that's the one that's been approved by the FDA. Tell me why that's unsafe. That's the number one thing. And then number two, my second assertion is that I believe that it is effective. So tell me why, based on the stuff, is my information wrong? What's happening with that information? Why is it? Why, if you think that I'm wrong, it's not effective? That people just, I took a placebo. I didn't take 2 shots of Pfizer. I took 2 shots. I got a booster for MMR. Okay, or whatever. Tell me why it's not effective. I just put the link in the chat. Let's see here. Or at least I thought I did. I'll put it in here again. Did I not? Okay, I feel like I may have. And so I'm open to that conversation. I am not going to be generally open to conspiracy theories and all kinds of other reasons. I need you to tell me why you think I'm wrong on my facts. Because if I'm right on my facts, that means I'm right about the argument. And that means that we need to be getting up and taking the Pfizer. Okay, or at least you should be if you care about, not getting it and not having to deal with these consequences. And especially, in terms of potentially spreading it. And yeah, I said I was gonna cam up. Let me cam up. Wait. Let me cam up here. Start cam. Yeah. All right. So, if not, then we good, because really this is one of these situations where people, bring in what I consider to be bringing up any and every point outside of what matters to invalidate the argument that the vaccines are safe and that they work. It's like deliberately, it's like we have people that's coming up with any kind of way to say, no, stay away from the vaccine. But then when you ask them, why are you saying that? And they come up with these arguments that either are irrelevant to the point, or when you think about it, are just not being thought about properly. I challenge those directly, because all that's doing is that's, like I said in my video, it's creating fear about something that in actuality is what's going to help you and what's going to get us out this situation, this predicament. Right now, we had, I think the latest thing we just saw, roughly 40 million people have been exposed to the virus in this country. We got 340 million people living in this country. That means, how many more people that means can still be exposed to the virus potentially? That's a lot of people that can still now be exposed to it, who have not yet encountered it to be exposed to it. And if a significant number of those people are not vaccinated, that means that this virus has the potential to go on for a long time. A long time. And I'm reading it, let me go through here. I'm reading this while I'm going through here. Let's see what people have to say about what I did. All right, so I was going back and forth with a number of you in the chat. I won't go all the way back, I'm just going to try to get to the, let's see here. Adrian, I hear you 100%. You think he made that up? I mean, my heart is breaking for that mother and her child too. Who knows what the situation was before, but this is exactly why. That's part of why I'm so passionate about getting this out here, because I don't want the ignorance to be if a reason why, number one, it continues to just go on and on and on, and it's going to get more and more dangerous. And then of course there's the self-interest. If the more people that get it, the more it's going to continue to spread around. The opportunities to mutate are going to be there. We're going to end up with something that attending physician just mentioned that there's another variant. There are actually quite a few that are out. You know, I've heard about the Lambda. I think the attending physician here, shout out to attending physician, mentioned a different one that he named. He'll probably put it in the chat again. The variants are what's going to happen, guys. This is our new reality. Variants. There's not stopping anytime soon, because we have way too many people who think that the virus is harmful and who think that it's not effective and think that hey, you don't need the virus. Just eat right, work out. Your immune system is enough. You know, I don't want to be insulting about it, but that's laughable to me. You know, the immune system is number 3 or 4, 5, somewhere down on the list in terms of what you need to do. All right, if everybody went and did that and we didn't develop this vaccine right now, you know how many more people would be gone in this country if we didn't get the virus when we did? So I'm trying not to be as serious about it because I'm taking it so serious. And I am an INTJ, guys. Look up my MBTI. When we get serious, we get really direct and we get blunt. And I'm trying not to do that. Let's see here. Let's read what some of the JT. Thank you. It's just a breakdown. I'm trying to apply reason here. Reason to the subject. I'm going down here. Just reading. Thank y'all for being a part of it. And I know y'all didn't come here to get beat up and beat down about whether, you know, your beliefs. I don't want that. What I'm trying to do is help people and help you personally. If you feel like somehow you don't need to take the virus, this is me coming from, I'm trying not to be frustrated about it, you know, because for me, I get frustrated. INTJs do this. We get frustrated when people ignore logic and sound reasoning and start thinking about other things. We get frustrated with them. And many INTJs, I'm not like this, but many INTJs will then put those people in a box and decide we will never deal with you again because we see how you think. And just read up about INTJs. I've matured beyond that. I know that it's a little bit more than that. So I'm not going to judge you, and I'm trying not to be too frustrated about it. But this is dead serious. People continue to die. People continue to catch it. So if you do, before the beings, look me. I'm like a poster child. Now I will say I'm a mature INTJ. There are INTJs who are immature, and you don't want to run across too many of that immature INTJ. You really don't. I got 2 people. I'm gonna bring you guys both on here, and I'm happy to see you guys. We're in the objections format, and if you don't come up, that's certainly fine. We got Adrian. So glad to have you on. I don't know what you're gonna hit me with, and I'm gonna try not to snap at you, Adrian. But I'm very, very convicted about this topic. And then we have attending physician, who to me is coming off like a she. Okay, attending, get me right. You're about to let me know now. Attending physician is about to, I think, be a voice of reason as well in this conversation. So let me start with, I'm just going to start with attending physician because I believe I saw earlier that you mentioned that you might not be able to stay on long. And I want to be cognizant of your time. And then I can bring in Adrian right after that. Attending physician, you have the floor.
Hi, I was trying to get my picture right. I don't know if it's up there or not, but whatever.
Now, right now I don't see it, but that might be my fault. I don't know.
I don't use StreamYard. I use OBS.
Gotcha. All good. All good. Well, welcome to the channel. Thank you for sitting all the way through. What's your take on this whole thing?
Um, I think I've said it a lot. I was actually calling in about the variants you were talking about.
Yes.
So the
Please.
variants are. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. The variants are actually named by different names by the CDC and of course by WHO, the World Health Organization.
Mhm.
So WHO names them with the Greek alphabets. I believe that's how they named them. Whereas CDC names them by like B.719 dot something. Anyway, so basically the variants out right now are alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon, zeta, eta, theta, iota, kappa, lambda, and now mu.
Okay.
So if you know your Greek alphabets.
Exactly. And it's just going right along it.
Delta. Anyway.
Alpha over here. So all good. What's up?
Okay. So I just wanted to say that as far as they also name them by variants of interest versus variants of concern. I have several videos that I have not put out, but I actually was thinking of going live and talking about the different variants, where they're located, what's the concern in your area. If you live in Texas, all of them are. And I believe Mu was actually in LA. That's the first case. And it's in LA.
So was Lambda in terms of this country. That Lambda was, from what I read, was also found first in LA for some reason.
And also I can't remember right now, and I don't have my paper with me, but I go by a different name. So I know California, when they first started back about a year ago with their increasing numbers, it was we call it the California virus or the West Coast virus. And it was wreaking havoc on California and Arizona and Nevada. And it was the reason for their numbers going up. And it's been pretty much isolated to that area. That doesn't mean it's not in other areas. It's just not as significant in other areas. I also, I wanted Blind Guy to call in to talk about, because I don't know if it's the wife or the husband, seems to have a lot of questions. And I wanted to call in and like kind of answer all the questions that they had. I have so much that I want to say.
Gotcha.
I'm going to be quiet for a minute and let the other person speak for a minute.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah. So Adrian also, hey, glad to have you here again. I don't see your picture either, so I don't know. Maybe it's on my side. Normally I see your picture, Adrian. Adrian, you still here? Like right now, look like Adrian dropped off. So maybe Adrian will pop back in. I'm not sure. So as you saw, you went through and followed through sort of the debate, and my sort of going in and kind of trying to go point by point in this type of format with Jen, who was making her points. Is there anything that jumped out at you that you wanted to react to?
Oh my! So I hope you guys do this again. I really do, because I would have loved to. I seem to get all of these notifications late. This is the first time I actually got one on time.
Okay.
But I would love to have been a part of it, just to challenge her, because you're a nice person.
Yeah. I guess you feel like I was being too nice, right?
I guess my thing is this. I do not like when people don't have an argument. If you have to say, well, such and such, or because, then be quiet. Your argument should stand alone, period. That's how I look at it.
I'm sure she would say that she had those arguments. Like from her perspective, I feel like she thought she was bringing arguments.
And that's fine. We would have clarified that. I think my background would have helped me to clarify that nicely. But for me, I hear a lot of people talk about personal experience, and personal experience is fine, and it should not be invalidated. If you saw if your aunt or someone took it and they passed, okay, I understand that. But there are so many factors that went into what happened. When you were putting up the statistics of saying, of the CDC bears, um, saying that it was like, I think it was 79-18, if that's, I think that was correct
Yeah,
number
I can
from the
bring it up
CDC.
if you want, but yeah, while we're talking, I'll look for it. Go ahead.
People don't understand what that means exactly. And that's why I said, the wrong hand is very dangerous. When
Mm,
I entered residency in surgery, I will never forget, we had a person who passed in surgery and we were being investigated at the hospital. I was a resident then. I was actually an intern. But that's what the word you were looking for, I believe, to residency
yeah,
training.
it was.
And so I was an intern and we were being investigated at the hospital, and I went to SUNY in New York. So that was one of the top tier hospitals, right? So, or groups or whatever they call them. And I didn't understand because the person was killed in a car accident. But when you do surgery on someone, and I don't know if this is everywhere, but in New York, 90 days after, you can be liable if that person dies. So they had to investigate to make sure that the person that died in the accident have anything to do related to the surgery. But also that might have been also based on the insurance. When you do certain insurance policies, as far as when surgeons are doing a surgery, if it's major versus minor, in a major surgery, they have like a 90-day post-op period, which pretty much means whatever happens between that 90 days, we're not getting paid. So whatever, but we still have to see you, we can't bill them extra or anything like that. We give them 90 days, follow-up care, whatever. So that may have something to do with it. That anything within that 90-day period could be investigated, and probably was insurance company pushing it. But I say that to say, just because someone took the COVID vaccine doesn't mean that it's the reason why. And if people really want to know, like I said, I was going to do this on my channel, but I'll say it now. COVID is not necessarily, the vaccine is an mRNA vaccine. It is not a regular vaccine like we're used to seeing with the influenza, MMR, rubella. It is not that vaccine. So you can't even relate it to saying, I think someone asked about autism. No, it's an mRNA protein. So in theory, if you actually take the vaccine, you should not even get a virus, period, right? But we know that doesn't happen. No vaccine, well, I shouldn't say no. Most vaccines don't prevent the disease. It just lessens the severity of the disease. One initial issue that I think perhaps the government, since they are the ones that I guess supposed to push out the information based on the researchers, went wrong. Honestly, I see a lot of places where they went wrong. And when you told people, which a lot of physicians were not happy about, I think, when you tell people that, oh, you can get the vaccine and you don't have to wear a mask, bad idea. That was a bad idea. If we're honest, why would you say that? You're nowhere close to getting herd immunity. Herd immunity is where majority of the people are vaccinated, which will protect the people that are not vaccinated. Because just like even with the influenza vaccine, everyone couldn't take that vaccine. Number one, if you're allergic to eggs, you can't have the flu vaccine because it's made with eggs. So, or preservatives, eggs, preservatives, whatever. So because there's enough people that take the vaccine, even people that are not vaccinated are still protected. And they tend to either not get it, or they get or it doesn't bother them as bad. Here we were supposed to have that, I think Biden said by July 1st. We were nowhere near that. And matter of fact, we're not going to be nowhere near by the end of the year, and probably not next year either. So they just threw that out of the thing and said we're not going to reach herd immunity. It's not even that we're trying to reach it anymore, because this is such a global scale that the entire world really needs to take this vaccine. You need to stop these borders. They actually, in my opinion, you need to shut this crap down, for a good 2 months. Give everybody a check and make them sit their ass home
Mhm.
because there's too much going back and forth. They do everybody. One state's doing this, one state's doing that. Texas, of all people, Texas governor don't give a crap. No, they don't care out there. I mean, those people are running wild. And then if we're so concerned, like Jen says about Black people, let's say this: if she'd have thought that it was a way to do something with Black people, that argument should have been had when supposedly they were over in Africa trying to try out the vaccine, correct? Remember that?
Yeah, I remember that.
And that was supposedly shut down. That would have been a great time to have that argument. But see, since everything else was shut down, if it is now your children, that's the problem. Because this vaccine cannot be given to kids under 12. Yet I see mama, daddy, aunts, everybody in the grocery store with your 4-year-old and your baby with no mask on. And granted, I understand. We say under 2 years old, yeah, probably don't put a mask on. They probably gonna eat the damn thing anyway and probably choke on something. But leave them at home. Are you serious out here with your baby? And everything they touch, they put it in their mouth. You have these kids out here and you got on a mask. I don't understand the sense of that at all. You have your children going back to school. Even if you say, well, my kid know not to take their mask off. How long do you think a 6-year-old will keep their mask on that's not mandated when they keep looking over there at Billy, Waukesha, and all the rest of them keep taking their mask off?
Right.
They're going to do the same thing. If you want to get it on, it's going to go, your children are going to spread it. And that's exactly what's happening in a lot of states. The children are bringing it home with them. I was behind the bus 2 weeks ago. Teenagers. The bus driver didn't have on a mask. None of the 7 kids that got off the bus had on a mask. They were teenagers. I said, Jesus, take the wheel. But I'm going to digress. Just in case someone else is backstage.
I hear you. Let me double check. I'm gonna bring. Thank you for that. And I think all just you're speaking to the point that people need to be taking it seriously, and that's what Vaughn here agrees with. People need to take it more seriously. That's what I'm saying. Hey, Miss B Finesse, thanks for stopping through. Let me see. Let's see if Adrian. I have you up now. You tried to join in before. Are you with us this time?
Yes, I'm here. Good evening.
Nice. Good evening. Good evening. Glad to have you here. As we were playing through the video, you had several questions going down, and I'm just here to see whether or not what's your take on it, and if you have any specific things you want to ask me or object with me about, in terms of my stance, then I'm definitely here for you. What you got?
So first of all, I have absolutely no objections. I mean, we are on an accord on our thinking and our values on this issue.
I'm glad.
I am going to echo the sentiment of the attending physician. Jesus, take the wheel. Like that's real. For me, when I personally first got wind of the COVID issue, my mind went back to the Black Plague of Europe.
Mm-hmm.
What was that, 1400-ish?
You can look it up, but yeah, I remember about it. It was those medieval times. Go ahead.
Would you like to find my receipts for me, Frank? I'm holding my phone. That was washing dishes.
Okay.
But my mind went back to what you got on your head tonight. Is that USC? What is that?
No, that's FSU. That's what I got my master's. Yeah, I got my undergrad from UNF. My master's in from Florida State.
Yes. Okay. The colors are the same colors of the University of Southern California.
That's true.
So it caught my attention. But nevertheless, my mind went back to the Black Plague of Europe. I want to say that was about 1400s. You're finding the receipt on that.
Yeah.
But my concern was, and I'm sorry, this concern was in like March or April of 2020. So my concern was,
just to let you know real quick, so 14th century, but it was the actual dates were 1346 to 1353.
1300s. Okay. So my concern was this: if this situation is as wicked as that, and I believe, find my receipts, boy Frank, did 60% of Europe's population die? 60%.
Let's go with that until I find it. Let's see. Well, okay, it's saying here
I want to say it was about 60%.
It's estimated to have killed 30% to 60%. So here on the wiki, it's giving us a range.
Okay.
30 to 60.
Okay, so let's say 50%.
Okay.
Let's take an average, okay,
right.
or so.
Right.
If 50% of Europe's population died, and this thing is as wicked as that, and this is pandemic, what are we talking about here? 50%, possibly 50% of a global population is dying from this. Well, for me, what that means is I'm gonna find my mind to cover my holes, keep myself in the house. I'm going to take the vaccine.
Right.
I'm going to do what I can to be a good citizen and not spread this thing around. That's what it means for me.
Got it. Now, let me just say this. Now,
so there you go.
Real quick, so I want to be cautious about comparing it directly to to what we know would happen, or at least in terms of the estimates with the Black Death, because really the vast majority of people are actually contracting it and are living through it. They're getting it, but they're fighting through. It's just that the numbers of people who are dying from a COVID-19, whatever the variant is much, much, much higher than, say, maybe something that is nearly as contagious like the flu. And so you saw me put those numbers up where it's like,
okay, but to that point,
be 10 to 20 times the death rate. But go ahead.
So to that point, and I'm going to need Miss Attending Physician's scientific interjections on this. But I understand that the survivors are having all kinds of different, very serious health issues, which they should expect to have throughout their longevity. So if you're a survivor, then what is your quality of life looking like? Attending physician, are you still there?
Yeah, I think she's here. Yeah, I read some stuff, but you probably are all over this. So please.
Can you
ma'am?
Am I breaking up?
I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I got kicked out, but I wanted to address one thing first. Did you say something? I heard you say something about the Black statistics or something.
Yeah.
No, ma'am.
Go ahead. No, she was talking about Black Death, not African American statistics. She was talking about
that's
the Black
what I mean. As far as the
yeah.
Oh, okay, in Europe. Okay. Are you in Europe?
No, ma'am. No. I'm California resident.
Right. You missed what she was saying there. Attending.
I did. Okay. So yes, there are some people, not all, but there are some people with any illness that are having side effects, respiratory side effects. Some are still positive. So many different things. As far as quality of life, I would say the quality of life is different for everyone. There are some people that are going to have a harder time, and there are some people that just going to, be carriers. If you would say like have traits and not express anything. You understand what I'm saying when I'm saying traits, right? Those that have the disease and those are just carriers. So if you see someone, right, okay, good. So they may have a great quality of life, but they still just have certain things that they have to deal with, whereas others may not. So I don't think their quality of life is like horrible. As someone that may, oh, never mind. I don't want to call any different things that people might take offense to. But obviously, there are things that are, like I tell folks, there are some things that are worse than death. For me, that would be having to be aware that I'm alive, and yet I can't take myself to the bathroom. All I can do is look around my eyes. Someone has to bathe me. Someone has to feed me. Someone has to flip me every 2 hours. You understand? Because I am
I
totally
do.
paralyzed and can't do anything. So that's not a good
I
quality of life
understand.
for me. Some people say, hey, I'm just glad to be alive. For me, I'm just like, you know what? Just take my butt out because this is not it for me. So I hope I answered your question to say, like, yes, there are some people that have issues, but I don't think they have in a really horrible quality of life. It may be that some people like, okay, now I got to deal with this for the rest of my life, and I really didn't want to deal with it. Well, who does? I was born with spinal stenosis. I have pain every single day. Would I like to have pain every single day? Absolutely not. But I deal with it, and I feel like I have a really good quality of life. If you saw me, you would know it. So that's kind of like my answer for that.
Hmm. You see here, just
That's
on that one question, you see that I brought up a recent link here about by the Mayo Clinic about the long term effects, and it goes through, as you can see, through a lot of the things. You have some minor ones here: fatigue, shortness of breath, cough, joint pain. And this isn't saying that everyone has those. Just that there's a possibility that um, that you can be one of those people that have these. But then some people have organ damage caused by COVID-19, heart, lungs, brain, blood clots and blood vessel problems. That was what one of the, what I read, at the end of the video that I made, mood, fatigue, and many long-term COVID-19 effects are still unknown, which is an important thing because, as we all know, this
Absolutely.
is so new, right? It's so new; it still needs to be studied. So this isn't to say that everybody who gets COVID and beats it has these effects. It's just that they are seeing these long-term effects in people who have contracted it. So there's a little bit more to worry about here than just catching it and dying. You know,
attending
say that again, Adrian.
attending physician.
Yes.
I said I had a question of the physician. I thought I read, I don't know, about a year ago that some of the long-term effects of the survivors were dementia type symptoms. Is that true as far as you know?
I'm not saying it's not as medicine, anything's possible, but I haven't heard that.
I've read it.
Okay.
I haven't seen it, but I have read that dementia-like symptoms can arise in people who beat COVID.
Is it
Um,
dementia or short-term memory?
well, I can look it up here. It's just not actual dementia, but
Okay.
but symptoms that are like dementia is what I read. I can pull that stuff up if we need to. Vaughn is got a testimonial here, as you see on the screen. Vaughn writes, "My wife and I both had COVID at the same time, and that was a year ago, and we are still suffering the consequences. So it'll be interesting to see what they're going through, but this might be an issue. We're talking about this long COVID. They lived, but what are these consequences? What is it that they're having to press through?" He did right here. We made it through, and so thank God for that. And we thank God, and we pray that they continue to come all the way back if possible, like full 100% health. That's my prayer.
And a lot of the they may say consequences of COVID, but it could also be treatment. When this was first seen, before it was publicized, we were diagnosing a lot of people with pneumonia, and we were
Mhm.
like, why are they not recovering? you know. And I don't know if you all paid any attention, but I don't remember where we were seeing this because I'm in groups. We have groups on social media of physicians. And one physician overseas, I believe, he kept coming on. He's recently died, the one that was actually trying to speak out about this virus.
Mm.
He kept and you would see him say there's a virus, you know, and it's coming, and then he get cut off. And we could not find him. So they kept trying to, well, I should perhaps silence him, allegedly. And so when it comes out that, oh, this is what this is, you know, we had no clue of how to treat this, how to fix this. And so we were doing the best we could as far as symptomatic treatment. But when you have someone presenting to you and you have to put them on a ventilator, and for me, a lot of people don't understand. For a physician, it is very hard for us to put you on a ventilator. That's the very last thing we want to do, because we're trained, do not put anyone on a machine that you cannot take off. And when we put you on a machine, we want you off of that machine and breathing on your own within 4 days, because we know in 4 days and more, you're going to start developing what we call nosocomial infections. And that's from being on the machine and breathing in that air. So then we're going to have another problem to deal with. But if you remember, we had no choice. We were putting a lot of people on ventilators. Then they were sharing ventilators. I was like, oh my gosh, this is getting dumber by the minute, you know? But we were trying to do the best we could. And then we figure out, okay, stop putting them on ventilators. So I wonder if some of the effects that some people are having, maybe because they were on a ventilator, or maybe something that maybe we did do trying to help and try to treat the symptoms to try to help them feel better.
Yeah, that sounds reasonable. We have Blind Guy, his wife, their life with the question here. Speaking of long COVID, does attending physician have input on nutrition as treatment? And she puts in parentheses, I knew this was coming, because that's her strong standpoint. She's definitely leaning on nutrition as treatment. So what's your point of view on it, if you have one?
You mean eating something to make it go away? Or
if she was on, she would be able to specifically tell you. We have to guess at it right now. So, I mean, is it nutrition as prevention from getting it? Is it nutrition as in, like you said, can you eat something once you have it to make it go away? Is it nutrition as recovery, like after you've beaten it, nutrition? I mean, I don't know where she's.
There's a treatment for the virus. I thought everyone was aware of that.
She's asking specifically about nutrition. She's stressing, she wants to stress the importance of nutrition in this process. And in this case, she's asking nutrition as treatment. Is nutrition a treatment for COVID, for long COVID? She's saying, speaking of long COVID here, do you have any input at all on nutrition as treatment for long COVID?
I don't. Just because of the treatment that we're giving is monoclonal antibodies. And monoclonal antibodies are generally treatment that we reserve for certain things. That's not like something we just dose out every day.
Right.
And that's actually antibodies. Those are genetically engineered antibodies to fight it. So I don't know what nutrition can possibly do to help. I'm not knocking it at all. But that's just not my strong suit right there.
Got it.
In related to this virus.
Okay, that's fair enough. You don't really have a point of view on it. I got you. I mean, it can't hurt, right? We all know that. Good nutrition probably is somewhere along the lines of what you want, but you probably don't have a point of view here on a specific point of view on, that is a treatment. Let's see here. It looks like Adrienne, her phone is just not holding the connection to StreamYard. So that's why she dropped off.
I like what Vaughn was saying. He said someone had asthma.
Yeah, I'll go back to it. Let's see here. Prior to COVID, I'll read it out. Prior to COVID, I had asthma. So I guess the situation made it worse. My wife is also on dialysis. So we both had underlying treatment to right there conditions.
Absolutely. Yes.
Definitely pray for you and your wife, because
And
let both.
with his asthma, I always kind of like shake my head when people say asthma. I was erroneously diagnosed with asthma a few years ago, and I kept saying I don't have asthma. But one thing, and just to let you all know, because you are um, Black Americans for the most part,
Hmm.
um, our asthma ratio that is looked at is different, a lot lower than the Caucasus.
Hmm.
And so, if that is not looked at and not identified, if you have um, a spirometry test, you will you may be erroneously diagnosed with asthma. I was, and I was put on medication, and I had an asthma attack when I got on the medication.
Hmm.
If you have not heard how hard it is to hurt to not be able to take a deep breath, and I always look at when people say, "Oh, they just stopped breathing and they just, it was a peaceful death." Trust me, it is horrible to be suffocated. That is horrible. That is a bad, that hurts really bad when you can't get air throughout your chest and breathe. That hurts. That's not
Hmm.
an easy death. That's a horrible way to die. So
Let
I
me.
understand he already had problems with asthma, which means he probably had some, um, that's a response of inflammatory condition. And then, of course, we know the COVID was attacking the lungs and the respiratory system. So yeah, he probably had some really bad problems, and of course led to some breathing problems, though he didn't say exactly what issues he was having. But
All right, real quick, and we're getting some stuff in the chat. So, and directed at you that you might be able to answer. Before I do that,
I don't
let me go
even
ahead.
know how to do that. I
Well,
can't see
if
anything.
you have a point of view, because
I
you
can't
are.
see any of the chat.
Oh no, I'm gonna read it. Oh, look like she dropped off. So I'm gonna give a shout out. Call back, attending physician. Call back, and anybody else that wants to come in. Shout out to the lead attorney. It's so good to have you here supporting, sir. Right now, everybody knows, and the fam knows that this is the reason. This man is the reason why I'm even doing this. My very first ever participation on anybody's live was on the lead attorneys, and he motivated me to push forward and actually do it. Look like we got a attending position back, and so I'm going. Whenever you come in, lead TLA, I'm shouting you out every single time and giving you all the due respect, sir, because I wouldn't even be doing this. And it looks like that so far with my channel. Again, you had a lot to do with it. It's doing really well with success. So shout out to the lead attorney. I'm adding you back right now. Thank you. Look like you kind of dropped off. I skipped someone's question earlier and they reminded me. So I'm going back real quick. Big Guy Talk. There was a question that he asked, and I wonder if you have a point of view on it. And that is, are you with me, attending physician?
I am.
Okay, beautiful. So I can see it. I can read them out. Big Guy Talk is asking, is it true that some people get a placebo vaccine? Have you heard anything like that?
Absolutely not.
I hadn't heard anything either on that. So I think we both would say that that's likely false, or
Right.
at least I haven't heard of anybody. You go in, you sit down, you think you're getting a vaccine, and it turns out to be a placebo.
That question, let me address that question just a little bit.
Okay.
So, when vaccines are being developed and they're in stages, because there was a lot of oh, it's not FDA approved, it's not this, whatever. The vaccine was FDA approved. It was just through emergency use only. And obviously there are a lot of steps that you go through. The FDA is always backed up. They got to be hiring y'all. But if you see something and it appears to be working during your trial, whether you're in phase 3 or phase 4 or phase 5, you're not yet completed, and you see that something is working, they may, in a trial, they're using placebo against the actual vaccine or whatever treatment they're doing or whatever they're going for. But when you see that, oh, well, this looks like it's working, then that says, you know what, we need this right now. So we're going to give emergency use to roll it out to the public.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it did not go through all of the stages of FDA approval, which Pfizer now has been through, and Moderna is on the way.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Yeah.
just wanted to address that because a lot of people always talk about certain things and just give a little bit of perspective. That's all.
Got it. Thank you. And so just to underline what she just said, when you are in the the trial stage, I guess is that the proper way to say it? When you're actually testing possible vaccines and their effectiveness, then you do have different groups that you give in order to have like a double blind test, I guess is what it's called.
Yeah.
And which I think that's the standard for science, the scientific method, where you give one group the vaccine, you give another group the placebo, and then you compare the results, against each other. So as a part of testing that happened, but not in terms of you're sitting down to get a vaccine and somebody, some doctor gives you a placebo. Let's see here. I'm going down. It's like a lot of people are giving shouts out. Okay, wait.
Adrian, yes, I'm a MD.
There you go. I'm talking to an MD, and I am thank you so much for, first of all, being here and then calling in, because, with a subject like this, with so many people like myself who, are just lay people, not medical practitioners at all, haven't gone to school, received any type of formal education on it. And for people like me, I just do a lot of reading. To have someone here who is a medical practitioner in terms of being an MD, because we do have other medical practitioners in here, I think is valuable. Let's see. I'll read this. There's a video from Dr. Brooke Goldner on reversing long COVID. I can drop the link, or you can search on YouTube, Dr. Brooke Goldner, reversing long COVID. It's nutrition based. Okay, I mean, thanks for the information. Considering the fact that long COVID is a brand new phenomenon, considering COVID is brand new, I would read this with any, with discernment.
Well, it's not brand new.
Okay.
So coronavirus has been around for, at least identified for, since I believe like the 60s.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the common cold is the coronavirus. Correct?
Right. They're from the family of human coronavirus.
Okay.
And there are over 100 types, but normally these are more like animal viruses, and in humans, there's only about 4 that affected us, but we only got like the common cold symptoms. If you guys remember, I believe it was in 2003 that SARS came out, SARS 1.
Mm-hmm.
And it was nipped in the bud, right? In about a month's time. Then I believe in 2005, MERS came out. It was also nipped in the bud in about a month's time. This is actually SARS coronavirus 2/COVID-19, which means coronavirus identified 2019. It is a novel virus. It is a mutated virus.
Mm-hmm.
And it continues to mutate. Alpha, beta, gamma, delta, they were all identified in less than a year. That's 4 variants identified in December, less than 1 year of identifying the actual virus. This thing is mutating so fast.
Mm-hmm.
And so if people don't start getting vaccines and stop going out to parties that they had in Atlanta with everybody up there at that concert last weekend, this is going to be a problem.
All right, let's go back and let's be specific here, because you said this is not new. So long COVID is commonly referred to as what some people end up with after they have beaten COVID-19. So if are you saying that COVID-19 is not new?
I'm saying coronavirus in itself is not a new virus.
Okay, and that's not what this question here is.
Right. I know she was talking about long. I thought we had moved on.
Oh, okay.
I
And
was
I
just
just want
saying
to
that.
I just wanted, the reason why I'm making this distinction is because I don't want us to come away with any misunderstandings about COVID-19 and about resultingly long COVID, and then resultingly about what potential cures there might be. I am asserting that because COVID-19 is new, therefore long COVID is new, and it's not been around long enough for there to really be any efficacy about quote unquote reversing long COVID. Like I am highly skeptical of someone coming out and saying this is how you reverse long COVID. Long COVID to me, in terms of as it affects, as it relates to COVID-19, hasn't been here long enough for somebody to know how to reverse it. We just not studying. We don't even know everything that is associated with long COVID. Am I wrong in that?
I'm going to assume long COVID, they mean the complication from COVID-19. But remember, I said coronavirus has been around for 4 decades, 5 decades.
Right. But COVID-19 is brand new.
It's a mutation.
Right.
Right. So it is a novel virus or whatever.
Right.
But
so how can we reverse long COVID when it first got on the scene in 2020 and it's 2021 halfway through?
Hey, that person may be a lung doctor. I don't know. That's not my specialty.
Okay.
I have no idea.
I'm gonna let it go. I'm gonna let it go. That's the point I'm trying to make here. Let me go through here. Friendsgiving is saying Haley, Miss B Finesse. We got some salutes to the lead attorney down here. Let's see here. So they bypassed all the red tape, is what Vaughn is saying. How much? So would you say that they bypassed like all the red tape, or what? What would you say on that one?
No. You mean for the emergency use?
Emergency.
It was granted emergency use, but now Pfizer has went through the steps that FDA takes them through and is now approved through the FDA. And the rest are going to be approved as well, I'm sure. Definitely Moderna, because that's pretty much the one a lot of the physicians took was Moderna.
On the way. Got it. Okay, so off the top of your head, you rattled off quite a few Greek letters. Was that roughly about, did you say it was 10 strains of COVID-19? Variants. Sorry, yeah. Variants. Yeah. Is it roughly 10, or that's just basically an estimate at this point?
No. If you go to the, they should be listed on the CDC website.
Okay, so we can just count them out.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's 10 because I was doing videos on them. And the problem is that they're listed as 10 variants, but they also list them as variants of interest versus variants of concern. So variants of interest, there are about 10 of those. And those are just saying that, hey, we know it exists, but we don't have any evidence to show that it's actually caused coronavirus or COVID-19. And then once we do have the evidence, it moves up to a variant of concern. So Delta moved up to a variant of concern. It was a variant of concern at one time, and then they moved it back down. But I think WHO always kept it as a variant of concern. CDC made it a variant of interest.
Got it.
Delta is the worst because what they have in them are spike proteins, which most of them do. But those spike proteins in Delta, they are avoiding the vaccine. They're avoiding the antibodies that people have and wreaking havoc. So that's where the issue is coming in with Delta variant. It's actually able to recognize, don't go that way because that's where that thing is that's trying to kill us. And so it's, I think when they tried it against, and I'm just quoting off the top of my head, so don't, I think it was like 14 out of 32 that was able to be neutralized or something like that. But it was still a big number that it was that the vaccine actually killed, but it didn't kill all of the vaccine, all of the variant. So, just like when we tell you guys to take antibiotics and you decide that you don't need 10 days, you only need 6 because you felt better. Those 4 days that you didn't take it left over a little bit of a bacteria, and now it grew and become a super infection. And so next time we give you the antibiotic, it's not going to work.
Right.
So that's
Got
why
it.
they can't control Delta.
All right. So see, this is what Blind Guy is doing right here is why I wanted to pin you down on whether or not long COVID is new or not. So this is what she writes. If you, an attending physician, aren't familiar with nutrition as a solution, an attending physician is explaining that long COVID is nothing new, then why not check Dr. Brooke Goldner as my receipt? So I'm going to check out Dr. Brooke Goldner, but what I'm doing is I'm expressing that from my perspective, long COVID is completely new. Now, I'm not going to speak for attending physician here, but long COVID, as it relates to what people know long COVID to be or talk about it as, a remnant of COVID-19, you've gotten it, you've beaten it, but you have some sort of complications after the fact of COVID-19, then to me, long COVID is completely new.
Right. I agree with that. It is new.
Mhm. Okay.
I think he was saying that it's not new.
This is what I'm saying. I knew she was going to grab at this straw like this. From my perspective, this is reaching for anything. Oh, long COVID isn't new. So then this Dr. Brooke Goldner's nutrition as a solution to long COVID must be legit. And I'm just expressing right off top. I'll read it, but I'm just expressing right off top. I'm very skeptical of it because there's no way that anybody can get a handle on long COVID this early into the stage. But we got somebody saying, "Oh, nutrition, this is the way to beat it." Okay, I'll read it, but I'm highly skeptical, and I'm just coming right out and saying it. So anyway, that's why I was trying to pin you down on that. Go ahead.
So just to be clear, Blind Guy, his wife, their life. Long COVID is new. It's a post-acute sequelae of COVID-19. It's new. It's new. It's those symptoms that people feel that's continued on a chronic basis, usually for 2 weeks, a month, or something like that, or more. And all those symptoms, that's what long COVID is. That is very much new.
Gotcha. But I'm not going to discount nutrition. I'm going to read it. Let's see what this cure is or whatever, that this Dr. Brooke Goldner has. We're going to check those receipts. All right. Okay, I'm just going down. Blind Guy. I'm definitely looking her. Oh, this is Big Guy. Big Guy's going to look her up. I'm plant-based and trying to go the natural route. Okay. Adrian, Blind Guy. Is Dr. Brooke a medical doctor or a naturopathic doctor? That's an interesting question. Let's find out what kind of doctor Dr. Brooke is. And attending physician said long COVID is not new. Not me. No. Well, yeah, you're right. Right. But she was referring to.
No, I said it is new.
Right. No, she's talking about early on. Because she's saying early on, it seemed that's why I wanted to pin you down.
Oh, no. I was saying coronavirus.
Right. And that's why I wanted to pin you down, because I felt like it was ambiguous enough so that somebody listening can interpret it that way.
Oh, okay.
So that's why I did it. And sure enough, it was interpreted that way. And so now you had to come back and pin it all the way down. So it's all good. I think there was a little bit of a, some communication there, but we got it straight. Now we know what everybody is saying. Okay, so we're Googling something. Googling, I guess Adrian is asking about Dr. Brooke as a medical doctor. Which one is he? He, I guess, medical doctor or naturopathic doctor. And
Brooke Goldner.
Yeah, let's see here. I'll Google it in a minute myself. Dr. Brooke, let's see. Let me go back a little bit. Dr. Brooke Goldner. So maybe that's a female. I'm not sure. Dr. Brooke Goldner. But yeah, we got people who are definitely stressing that, the power of the nutritional route. So I'm going to do my research on that too.
Okay. She's a she's a physician.
MD?
Yes.
Got it. All right, that answers the question.
But I also believe that she looked like she specializes in lupus. So
Hmm.
that would make sense of why she's speaking about nutrition.
How so? If you don't mind going into it a little bit, what would be the?
Because of the autoimmune disease of lupus and diseases such as that is speaking of how to I would say a better way of life for them. So with lupus and any autoimmune disease, your body is turning on itself
Mhm.
and causing issues. And so I would see how she would possibly be more focused on a plant-based diet to decrease that, to try to see if you can reverse the immune system from seeing yourself as a foreign entity.
Got it. All right. So there you go. So there might be some connection there. Okay. I mean, you've put the information out, and I think, I know me, I'm gonna look it up. Probably everybody that's kind of tuned in and paying attention will look that up. So I don't want to hold you here. What I'll say is, and this is for everybody, this has been for me an opportunity simply to drill down into exactly what my perspectives are, and sort of explain why I didn't necessarily go that in those directions when I went into the first debate. You mentioned that you would like for us to do it again. I probably will end up on objections doing some variation. The question I asked was in the first debate is a very provocative one, and that was, should the COVID vaccines be mandated? And so that's a strong word, so that's gonna, when you say mandated, so people are gonna come down on all sides of it, based on whether or not they feel like it should be mandated. And that probably is an open question. And maybe you even have a point of view on it, even with the fact that you agree with me that this is a serious vaccine, that a serious virus that people aren't necessarily taking serious. So we'll probably end up going back to it.
I don't
So I
think it should be mandated.
Okay, so share your, if you don't mind, kind of sharing your perspective on just that. Why or why not? Shouldn't it be mandated?
I've always come from the perspective of I would really like to know more about the mandate if it's mandated. But I've come from this perspective of we know that even in past vaccines that everyone can't take them.
Mm-hmm.
So if you mandate it, then and say, oh, well, you have to have it in order to go to work, or where's the limitation? Is it saying kids have to have to go to school? You can't do that. We don't have one for them. Right?
Right now.
So it would have to be for basically teenagers and adults.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe going to college, I could possibly see that because they do mandate certain things that you have, like the meningococcal vaccine, because things are prevalent in colleges and prisons and tight quarters. But because I think on an individual basis, that's a decision you make, and you need to talk with your physician to see if you are a good candidate for it. In medicine, no treatment is a form of treatment. But if you don't take it, for example, in one hospital that I worked in, it was everybody had to take the flu vaccine. If you didn't take the flu vaccine, you had to wear a mask at all times. Some people opted to not take the vaccine. And obviously, those that could not take the vaccine, you had to wear a mask. Okay, that's fine if that's the alternative. So if the masks are safe and that they will work, then those people should be mandated to either say, okay, you're willing to wear the mask, you're willing to be tested. I don't know how many people can agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe every time you come to work or something like that. I could see it then, but there has to be, it can't just be you have to take it or else. There has to be options, especially if you're eligible for it.
Mm-hmm.
But I still believe medicine should be about autonomy.
Mm-hmm.
I can give you the facts. I can tell you whether or not if you are my patient, which I don't have patients, but because I don't work, in general practice and then like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm saying for those that, have patients like that, speak with your physician who's supposed to know you, and y'all weigh your risk or whether you should take it or not. And if they decide, no, I don't think you need to take it, then I don't think they will have any issue with providing you a note saying that, hey, this person did come by. We discussed it. I don't think this person is a candidate for this vaccine. And I mean, what can your employer say? What can the government say?
All right. I got you. I have a nuanced take on it, but because we are 2.5 hours in, I'm going to refrain from it because I think this is it's a right topic to continue to come back to. And I think this conversation has been served greatly by your presence. I'm so glad you joined me here up on the panel and jumped in. What I'm going to do is go ahead and thank everybody for jumping in and commenting and going back and forth with me and putting up with me being a little bit, hopefully I wasn't too firm or blunt or too much of an INTJ. I'll just put it that way on this subject tonight. But just to be respectful of everybody's time, I'll go ahead and bring this to an end. Anything that you wanted to say, attending physician, before I close out? You just kind of spoke on that, but just anything in general you would like to say for everybody before I close this out?
No, I enjoyed it. It was great. I might decide to go live and start doing this, just answering questions.
Yeah, I think there's something to it. Do you have a quick question? Yeah, before I go. So do you have a YouTube channel or a space or, like?
Yes, I have about 7 channels.
Okay.
I had 8, but YouTube took it, but that's okay.
So what do you want? How would you like to put this out? What can people search for so they can find your channels and subscribe?
So this is one, attending physician.
Okay, so everybody, attending physician. I'm going to subscribe as soon as we are in this stream. Are there any others that you'd like to promote for people to join and subscribe?
I have a meditation channel. It's called Mom Meditation. It's M.O.M. Stands for Mind Over Matter Meditation. It's just music to help you sleep if you have insomnia, anxiety, or any of those issues.
Okay. M.O.M. Meditation, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
It may have music at the end, but I don't remember.
Oh, okay. Let me real quick, because I'm gonna let us go, but let me just see if I can find it real quick. And if I can find that one, I'll post that link since the first one is easy to Google. Let me just do it right now. M.O.M. Meditation, and you're saying it might have music at the end. If I can find it, then that's the name of it?
Yes.
Okay, so it's not popping up on the first page yet. Let me keep going. Go to my filters. I'm gonna put music at the very end. Let's see if that helps. Oh no, I see a meditation and relaxation.
It's Mom Meditation Music. My bad.
Mom Meditation Music. And here's what. Okay, I think I see it. Okay, so I'm going there. I'm going to share the link real quick as well. Check it out. If you guys like it, please subscribe. And I am going to post that right here. Okay. And so definitely the first one should be easy enough to find, attending physician. Please check your channel out and subscribe. And then same thing with Mom Meditation. Just something I can try to shout out for the value that you brought to this discussion. And definitely want you to Yes, you're welcome. And you definitely want you to come back if we just whenever, you know, and if you ever feel like jumping in, please do so. So glad to have you here. Let's see. So I'm going down the list now. Looks like everybody's, yeah. So thank you everyone for your participation. I think this turned into a somewhat spirited debate with a lot of points of views and some very pointed points of views. This is what we need to do in order to grow. I'm going to do another one of these where I'm going to actually point out where I was wrong. Like on this one, I feel like I'm in the right, but there's going to be another one I'm going to do where we had a debate where some things came out, and then I grew personally from the debate, and I learned from the debate. And after you know, basically reviewing it, sleeping on it, and doing some research, I have come away from that debate with an enlightened perspective, and I'm going to share that. So I'm going to do another one with that, where, you know, I don't have to always be right or anything. It's all about growth and learning. So I can't wait to share that one as well.
Are you only doing reactions, or are you going live? Like, do you post on your IG when you go live, or?
So thanks. So I do go live. I'm only doing reactions here lately, but so I do my own normal ones from time to time. However, here lately, I have been promoting objections as the debate format with the person that you saw in the video on the block with Jen. She happens to be sick right now. She's not doing too well. She's probably on the mend now. So, but over the weekend she was ill, so we didn't get a chance to do any over the weekend. But when she comes back to 100%, and we'll probably go ahead and do some more. So I'll be doing those as well. But right now I'm doing the reactions.
Okay.
Yep. All right. Well, thank y'all for your time. I don't want to hold you any longer than necessary. This has been great. You guys know how I like to do. I go straight to my outro. I run it and then give everyone the opportunity to type in whatever your final thoughts that way. I'm looking forward to seeing you all again. Thank you so much. I guess on this point, I'll go ahead and say peace out. Until next time. And you can say bye.
Bye.
All right. I'm waiting on you. Good stuff.
Wow.